Welcome to the Leicester Fan TV podcast. Sam, thank you for joining me today. Get through. Let's get through the topics today then.
Yeah, I think I've wrote down some things we can talk about. Obviously, we're in international break now. Just come off drawing 1-1 with Brentford, which I think most of us would say in circumstances is a pretty good result. You know, obviously we've got a lot of tough fixtures right in front of us as well. The fixtures that are coming up, there is a lot of big games coming up. Really, I think there's 11 fixtures left, and out of them, I'd say 6 of them at least are 6-pointers. First thing is, how many points do you think we will get from now until the end of the season with 11 games left?
Well, we've been speaking about this recently, and we've kind of gone through each fixture and thought, where's the points going to come from? And I think out of all the games we've got left in the 11 games, I think 6 of them are winnable.
Yeah.
I think the other ones are going to be hard to win, but can still be winnable. Like, say, the Liverpool game at home, like you've even said, it can be winnable. They aren't in the greatest of form this season. We can get a win there. But the ones that we should be winning with the 6 games we've said, I've said about 40-point mark. I think when we get to the end of the season, we'll have about 40 points. That's 15 points from now. And that's what, 4 wins and a few draws, or 5 wins in the last 11 games, which I know is going to be hard because we've not only won 7 all season, but with how we are now, we have to get these points. Otherwise, we will be down there.
Yeah, I mean, like everyone says, Palace have not won a game this year. Now they've got a new manager, and we got them next. It does sum it up, Palace playing pretty poor under Vieira the past 15 games, and obviously they sack him. They bring in a familiar face with Hodgson. He's back there, and it does kind of sound like it's Palace's game to lose almost when we go to them. It's going to be a tough first fixture back. Hopefully, we don't pick up any injuries throughout the World Cup. The likes of Maddison. I mean, reports came out the other day that Maddison has, he's under very strict training at the moment to keep him fit for the matches because he's not 100% fit to be training every day for a week. So, like I say, Palace is a tough game as our next one back. For me, the next 3 games are very crucial for us because you would almost say all 3 of them are 6-pointers, especially Palace and Bournemouth are definitely 6-pointers.
Yeah.
Villa, we just beat them 4-1 a couple of weeks ago. We away as well, so we got them at home on a Tuesday night. I don't see why we can't, get all 3 points away from them at home. To them as well. There's there's a couple of teams that we still got. You got Man City. They're a bit of a write-off game. I'd say if we can get anything out of them, great. If we don't, it's not big. It's not the game we should be focused on. But there's a couple of big ones. Obviously, we've got Wolves after Man City, then Leeds away, then Everton, then Fulham. They're all very tough games, and they're all going to be 6 points to Fulham, not so much, but definitely Leeds, Everton, and Wolves.
Yeah, like I said, the games we've got left compared to other teams in the league who are near us, I think we've got more of a favourable ending of the season. Obviously, the last few years we've not had the greatest because I remember when we were top 4 the last few seasons, and then we can get the really hard games at the end, and it's cost us. This year we're at the bottom, and now we've been kind of gifted a chance to stay up, and it is really a gift because we've got the games there to do it. We just have to prove that we are worthy of staying up. And like I say, Palace for me is probably harder than the Villa game, but that's just because when I've been to Palace the last few years, we've never really got a good result out of it. But at home, as much people are saying that we haven't had the best of form at home, I think that's where we have to be picking these points up because, if you look at the table, look at the fixtures now, 4 of them 6 games that we're saying the 6 pointers are at home.
Yeah.
And that's where you have to be picking these points up because you don't want to be just winning the away games because that's literally 2 out of the 6 games that you would probably say is winnable. So
I'm just looking at this. 1, 2, 3, 4 out of 4 out of the big 6. Out of the 6-pointer games are at home. So we really, like I said, the fans need to get behind the players.
Yeah.
And I think we kind of just have to ride it out this season because it just is what it is. People want Rodgers out. I mean, I'm obviously a Rodgers out person, but if he's here, we've just got to back it. No banners, no shouting, no booing, just cheer the lads on, and hopefully we can get some big performances in because that's what it's going to take for us to stay up. I said to you, me personally, I think our season is going to be determined by the Everton game. I think we will know that, by Everton, I think we will know if we're safe or not. So when you look at the fixture after that, the only real team I think we can come away with 3 points is the last game against West Ham, because after that we've got Fulham, Liverpool and Newcastle, which are all, for me, that there's a good chance we could lose those teams because they're all on pretty good form. They're all doing pretty decent. Liverpool, you maybe pick up something and send. Fulham, who knows? Mitrovic, I assume, probably won't be in the team by then after what he did to the referee in the other game. I'm sure he's going to have quite a hefty ban. So again, there's a lot of teams we can. I mean, with the same Leicester team 2 years ago, effectively, we've not the only players we've really lost is Fofana, who was injured for quite a lot of his time at Leicester. But everything else is the same. I won't say much changed. Obviously, Christensen, fingers crossed, should be back for the Palace game. Who do you play? Because obviously we're going to have Pereira, Castagna, and Christensen. Do you play all three, or who do you drop out of them?
I think the only one for me to drop out is Castagna. I just don't think he's to the level of what we have at fullbacks. I think JJ, when he comes back, it's going to be hard for him to get in with Christensen, how he's been playing the last few games when he's been in. And then on the right back, I just think our out-and-out right back is Ricardo Pereira. I think Castagna is more of that wing back when we're playing 3 at the back / 5 at the back.
Would you play Castagna as a right centre-back in back 5?
Not in a centre-back. I think if anyone, I'd probably play Castagna there. Ricardo.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, so if probably,
but then back, Ricardo right wing back.
I think for me, I think my third choice centre-back, other than Faze and Suter, would be Justin. I think I prefer him in a back 3 than Castagna because he's got.
When we've got a fully fit team, we do have people fighting for the positions in the team. Obviously, that's not the case. But Christensen, I think, if he's fit, he'll walk back into the team against Palace. I think one of our problems as well, really want to talk about, is who do we play up front? Because obviously, I think what we really are lacking at the moment isn't defence. We've got quite a good defence when the team's fit. But up front, even with a fully fit team, you didn't see Barnes. He had a decent game against Brentford, but he's still not, the Barnes we know he can be. Tete's obviously been quite a disappointing player. Strikers, all 3 of them, you wouldn't say who you play up front. All 3 of them, for me, I don't think any of them really earned a place to be the number 1 striker. So, how would you line up against Palace with a fully fit team?
Thing is, the difficult thing is with the attack is the fact that most teams in the Premier League have a set out attack and they know what to do with each other. With us, we keep switching it around. So obviously, the other game, because Barnes was injured, we played 2 up top, and I thought it kind of worked well. But then you've got Barnes back in the team, and then you bring in Daka in the team instead of Iheanacho. There's just so much swapping around. You want a consistent lineup in the attack that, for me, would probably contain either Daka or Iheanacho. Not Vardy. I think he is probably the one that's probably out of the picture now for me. And then it depends on who you play up front. Do you play 2 up top in Daka and Iheanacho, or do you play the 3 up top? Because most of the season we have played 3 up top, and I'd probably say it's not worked because some games Barnes is not at his level. Most of the season we've not had a right winger, and then in the striker position we played Vardy most of the season. Then we realised he wasn't good enough, so we put in Iheanacho, and now we're putting Daka in. It's like there's so much changing around. You need a consistent lineup there that we either can stay Barnes, Tete, and Daka, or you go Iheanacho, Daka, and Maddison in behind. So there's always got to be a consistency in there. Otherwise, we're just not going to get any goals from it. So for me, against Palace, I probably would play 2 up top and play 3 at the back / 4 at the back, depending on how we play. But yeah, for me, I'd play 2 up top because I just think the way that Palace play, I think we need to play 2 up top.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I think we've got quite a lot of good players to switch it around into. If we wanted to do a 2 up front, we could with wing backs, or if you wanted to have Barnes and Tete, we could do that as well. I think for me the real key is how we apply those tactics, because when we play with those positions, we still seem to play the same passing on about. Against Brentford for the last half an hour, I don't know if it was Rodgers' call or if the players were like, screw it, we're just going to sling it up front and see what happens. That's what we did, and it created a goal. When we scored the goal, the last half an hour, we were definitely the more dominant team against Brentford. We were creating the chances, and they looked all over the place. But I said to Phil and Jake that when we did that, we were passing it. We weren't passing it on the back. We were doing a nice little creative place, and we would swing it up from rather than coming back, where you'd have Ndidi or whoever was in the midfield. Rather than looking for the forward pass, they would turn back. They weren't doing much of that in the last half an hour against Brentford, and we look like the better team. I think that's how we should be doing more of the style football. You can see that the energy and the passion and just the way the players are with playing that kind of system, passing it forward rather than back works a lot better for us. Hopefully, Roger sees that and he applies against Palace because, Palace, they've got Zaha up front. If we make any mistakes, they're going to capitalise on that. And I think, again, Palace are a team where they're definitely not safe and they're going to try and get as many points. And they're probably seeing Leicester as, a team they can pick up some points from.
Oh yeah, because obviously again we're coming up against a team who's not played well and they've just brought a manager in. It seems like it's happening every week we play against someone like that. It just seems like we're always going to be the underdog because they've brought a new manager and there's going to be a manager bounce there probably. You never know, we could easily smash them, but there's always a case now where anything could happen and you can't predict a win there, you can't predict a loss there. It's all down to how we perform on the day. And yes, I could see us beating Palace, but again, they've got Hodgson in now. I don't think he's the greatest manager, but he can't do much worse than what Vieira is.
He is a relegation manager. He knows how to keep Palace up. He's done it for many years before. Yeah. He'll know how to, keep them up, and he'll probably be looking at Leicester's first game thinking, this is a good chance to get 3 points right off the mark and be even closer to security. Just reading some comments here. We should pick up points as long as no dodge subs. Yeah, I think we said that Rodgers' subs are very robotic. It's 60th to 65th minute. You bring in on right players. I personally wouldn't. I think a lot of fans agree that taking Ndidi off, he was pretty much he was having quite a good game, to be fair, against Brentford. He comes off and he brings Samari on, who does give the ball away and he does do some bad tackles. I know you've said that's because he might be the only option for next season, but I would personally, I just play what we've got best. For me, Mendy is our best defensive midfielder. He should be starting every game if we're going to play for defensive midfielder. So, I think we just a little bit of realisation. As fans, we can see that the subs aren't right. Last week, why take Daka off, who scored against Chelsea, to change it around when you should probably bring Nacho off because he's the one that was being the weak link. But anyway, that kind of moves on a little bit to what I want to talk about next. Is if we do stay up in the Premier League this season, I think we're going to see a completely different Leicester side next season because of all the players I've listed down here, reading all the players I think could be going, and it's quite a long list. I've started. We've got Maddison. I think he's probably going to go. I think we can look at it unless we offer him a hefty contract match, or if Newcastle offer him 150 grand, I can only see him staying if we offer him 200 odd grand a week.
Well, the only thing with Maddison is I think it might be the same as like a Fofana kind of style where he'll probably go in the next few years anyway, even if he does stay this year. But as long as we get him on that big contract, it means that he'll probably go for 10 times more.
Yeah, well, like I said to you a few months back, I think we'll sell him this summer for about 40, 50, 60 million just because of his contract.
That's what I'm saying. That you give him a bit more of a hefty contract. Say you can go, but just means that we get more money for it, and
it's up to him if he wants to do that. He wouldn't want. He probably might want to. Probably like, I want to go out the door this summer. He probably feel he's in the peak of his career. He's playing as great as he can be. Probably thinks it's time to get a big move. Obviously, but Tielemans down there, I think will.
Well, he's gone. He's out the door already. He's got no contract left, so he's already out.
No contract. He's out for 2 months.
Yeah.
So I think he's one that goes. Mendy, he's another one who's out of contract, and for me, I'd give him at least another 2-year extension, just because I think even if we do bring in a new defensive midfielder, he's a solid option for us. I don't think, especially this season and past seasons, I don't think he's really done the foot wrong.
It's a hard one because, like I said, there's a lot more names there whose contract runs out at the end of the season, and for me, people do moan about how many players we've got on contract and how much they are on. Is this the time where we do let a lot of the players, even if they are maybe good enough, do we let them go and bring in the new players that we want to fit this new style, and it'd be in a lot better position wise, contract wise, and do you know what I mean? It just
Well, I'll say the other ones. I have put Samari and Ndidi down here, or other two defensive midfielders. I think they could very possibly go, both of them, at the end of this year. So if all three of them go, I think it leaves us with no defensive midfielder, and we'd have to bring someone new in, which I don't think is the worst thing. Ndidi's not been on great form. Samari, my opinion, I don't think he was ever been a good player for Leicester. Mendy, I would give him a new contract, but like you say, do you risk giving Mendy a new contract knowing that Ndidi and Samari might?
Because then again, like say, if you keep Mendy in now, you're going to be stuck with him for the next 3 or 4 years. It's like a Marty. He's somehow still here. When we've had him since the year we won the league, that's how big it is. And that's why I'm saying that someone like Samari, yes, he's only been here 2 years, but maybe we keep him for the rest of his contract and then let him go. I could probably see someone like Samari going back to the French league on loan, maybe. But the likes of Mendy, the likes of Sionchu and people like that are the ones who are the contracts are running out. I think we will let go as much as we might not want to, and bring in these fresh players who we know who want to be playing for the club.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like I say, you've seen Christensen and Suter. I think those two players, they obviously want to go to the next step in their career, and they joined Leicester, which is it's obviously. And
that's what you want to see. You don't want to see people who have been here for 5 years plus.
You can't say for certain.
Still stuck here.
You can't say for certain if they want to stay here forever. Yeah. They might want to go at the end of the season themselves. I doubt they will because they just signed for January. But they're like a lot of players. They'll see Leicester as a stepping stone club, and they'll probably want to go into bigger things like a lot of players have. But at least for Christensen and Suter, they're passionate about being at Leicester. They want to be at Leicester. They're happy to be there. And if the move does come in, then the move comes in, they're not going to be a. If you
think about it, if you had 11 players, or maybe about 8 or 9 players, with them 2 or 3 players in the team that we've had already, that we know about the stability, that team would be in a lot better shape. We do need a refresh
in the mentality of someone like Christensen and Suter, because when you look at the pitch, if you list all the players that actually have passion for the club and want to play for that, I could probably say 4 players on the pitch.
That's what I mean.
Say Iverson or Ward, I don't see passion from either of them to be in the team.
I think if you brought a keeper in like fresh and coming into the Premier League, you'd see every single save he makes would come to the fans and be like, get in and whatnot. Because he wants to be here, whereas them two just think it's a normal save and they just get on with their job.
If we did list the team, like I say, Ward, Iverson, neither of them are passionate. I don't think about being a Leicester player. Pereira, I wouldn't say he's not.
I think he's got more fight than a lot of players.
I think he's a decent player, but I wouldn't say he's passionate on the pitch. Suter, I'd say he's passionate. I mean, who even as a centre back 5, I'd say he's pretty passionate. He can have an off days. Obviously, coming back from his red card, Christensen's obviously very passionate. Defensive midfielder, I don't see any passion from Samari or Ndidi. I see a bit from Mendy. I see aggression from
that. That's the thing you sort of need from that sort of role. Like you say, you've got like Declan Rice from West Ham. You see every time he does a brilliant tackle, you can see it in his eyes that it means a lot to him. Whereas any of our players just don't bother.
Madison, I say definitely passionate.
You see that every single day.
I see zero passion from Barnes really. Strikers, as all 3 of them go, Vardy's the only one that shows passion. Nacho a little bit, nothing from the others though. Right side Tete, not really much.
I think he tries his best, but he's not as good as people think he is.
So I think we just need someone very passionate. Like Christian. For me, Christian was great when he came because he has that passion. He got the fans riled up, and I think obviously you can see the lack of it when he's out of the team because he is one of those players that he's future captain material. You see it in him. Moving on up to some of the other players that could go, obviously Kags. I think he was in Turkey whilst we were playing Brentford. I think he's.
I think he's known he was gone for about a year now because of how it's gone. Obviously, we don't know the actual situation with it. We think that he fell out with Rodgers, but we can't say for sure. But we've had opportunities where he could come in instead of a Martin. He's just not. So we just know that's not going to happen. So and like you say, you've got the Birch and the Vestergaard. I think that is where you need to start getting rid of it because as much as they could have been good players, they just isn't. There isn't anything there.
Out of contract. I don't know if they both are, but I think Vestergaard is. I'm not sure if Bertrand is as well. Obviously, I put Daka down there as well because I think this isn't me saying we should get rid of him. This is from his point of view. I think he's probably thinking, I'm not getting into this Leicester team, especially if we do.
But don't you think someone like Daka, as much as you might not think he's the greatest, I think if you gave him a full season as the number 1 striker with a team around him, I think maybe he would show his quality.
It depends on his tactics, because for me, I'm not saying Daka's. I have said in the past, I don't think he's good enough in the Premier League.
He's one of the fresher sort of.
I think when I look at it over, I think Daka's not. He might be good in the Premier League. I can't judge him because we don't play him right. For me, Roger should have never signed Daka because that's just not how he wants to play a striker. So I don't see why Roger's brought him in. So for me, I think he might want to go because he wants to play regular football. I think he could easily go to another Premier League team, one that's just come up, or like a Palace kind of team, ones that I think he'd do decent there. I've put Barnes. I think I'm the only one saying it. So I think Barnes is going to go to a top 6 club in summer. I think if you look at his,
I think I'm hoping it. I'm hoping he will because I can't see an improvement in him. I can't. As much as people. I spoke to so many Liverpool fans and so many other fans of other teams, and they say that he's quality in that because he doesn't watch them every single game, and we've watched him every single game, and he's not improving.
I think his stats were just given a boost. I'm pretty sure he's Leicester's top goal scorer in the Premier League now this season, joint top with Maddison at least.
That just shows it's like he's not even doing much.
I
He's
think
still
his
somehow
stats
getting
will
goals.
get to a club like Spurs or Liverpool. I think he will get a big top 6 move this summer. I don't think it'll be for too much, maybe 30 million. But
Yeah.
I think he will go. I just personally think he did. I think Castagne's. I wouldn't say his time's done at Leicester. I think he's a decent defender, but he's not the quality that we need. When you see Pereira on the pitch or even Justin Christensen.
That's me. You've brought in two fullbacks now, and both of the left back, but you've just seen the quality in them, and then you see Ricardo come back, and you just see the quality in that. You just think, I don't see Castagne fitting in anymore there.
I can see him going back to Atalanta, even going back to his old club. I think he's been a decent player for when he was here, but I think we've just moved on a little bit more, and he's kind of stayed at the same level. So I think he might want to go out. And Diddy, like we said earlier, I think he's probably thinking he's been on the bench for Leicester. Obviously, 3 or 4 seasons ago, he was linked to Man United, Man City clubs, big money move, one of those players.
I think for me, he's one of the players that I think will stay, because I think he'll be one of the. If he gets back to his full form, and I think Brentford is one of his probably better games this season. Yeah. I think he can get to his back to his best form. I think he'll be one of the players in the team that stays in that team and knows how the team works.
He has been a good player. So obviously, he's quite injury prone at the moment, so he could get injured again for all we know. But I think I could see West Ham getting rid of. Obviously, I think Declan Rice is going to go in summer. I could see someone like West Ham signing him up as Declan Rice's replacement. I don't think that would be too bad for them. Moving on, I put Ricardo Pereira. I think someone like him, he's obviously been quite injury prone, but on his day, he has been a Barcelona-esque kind of player. And I think someone like, not Barcelona, I think one of the top clubs around Europe could see him as a potential, like a Juventus or something, and work with him to get back to fitness. Because I think at the moment at Leicester, he's obviously very injury prone, but with a struggling team, I think it makes him look like a worse player. I think he's quite a good player.
For me, Ricardo, I think he's one of the players for me that is happy at Leicester. I don't think obviously he'd be happy if he goes somewhere bigger, but I think he's happy and settled at Leicester. Not settled as in saying that he's just going to stay with us for the rest of his career, but he's not one of them players who always wants to just improve and be better.
He is getting on though. If someone like Juventus or a big Italian team or whoever came in for him, I could see him going, because I think he's 28, 29 now. He has been with us for longer than I didn't realise it. He's been with us a good 6 years now. I think he's been with us for quite a while. But I could see him, getting a bigger move. Maybe, I wouldn't say he's at the peak of his career. He's very injury prone, but if he was to find some good form, I could see him definitely going at the end of the season. Bertrand, we all know. I think we all know Bertrand's definitely want to go.
Yeah, James says here that Barnes is the same player as he was 3 seasons ago. He's just with less confidence. Yeah, like I say, there's always he has got talent, but he just doesn't. Yeah, he hasn't got a football brain. He just doesn't know what to do at times. He doesn't seem to always run down the wing when he's got the pace. He has to wait for the ball before he makes a run. Whereas when we know what Vardy did was run for the ball to come to him. He's got to touch the ball down well. But Barnes has to wait for the ball to make the run and then just loses it anyway. So for me, as much as he might be the top goal scorer and he might be good on the assists, for me that doesn't mean anything. He just doesn't do enough for us off the ball or even on the ball. I think he's just got lucky with the amount of goals he scored.
Yeah, which is what I agree with what you're saying completely. I think he's not been great this season, but his stats, a lot of clubs are just looking at his stats and be like, he's clearly done really well in a poor Leicester side. We should snatch him up. Moving on to the next player, like I said, Bertrand, Vestergaard, I think they can both go. I know one of them's out of contract, and if they both are. Iverson and Ward, I think Iverson can definitely go, because I think he's going to want to play some regular football.
The problem is we need. I don't know whether we're going to bring a new first choice in. We do need to, but it depends on who goes, because it depends on how Rodgers thinks. If Rodgers stays, I don't see who comes in that would do that, because we've got in.
Rodgers doesn't rate Ward. I don't know if anyone else knows, but I think for the rest of the season it might be Iverson in goal for the next 11 games, because I don't think Rodgers trusts Ward. For me, I can see Ward going to a Premiership team that's just come up. Whoever comes up, there's Luton Town that potentially could come up, and he might think, why not? I fancy a chance or something like that. To me, I think he's championship quality. He's not played football for 10 years, and then we give him the season. I think that shows that he's not played at all in any regular football for the past 10 years. Iverson, I think, same kind of player. He's not as young as people think he is, 25, 26. Now he's going to want regular football. Keepers peak a little later than most other players, but I can see him going to championships because he wants to start his career off. I don't think he's going to get that if Leicester. I think he'll get it for the rest of this season, but I just think, regardless of how well he does, I think we just need a new goalkeeper.
It's hard on because we brought that Smithies in. I just don't know what the situation will be with it. Does he stick with the keepers he's got? I don't think that's the right choice. I think you do let one of the two keepers go in, Iverson or Ward.
For me, the keeper for us has been a massive.
Whoever the other one who doesn't go is backup.
With the
rumours a new goalkeeper.
Obviously, when Casper left, he was forced out of the club. He didn't want to leave. He was forced to go. He's openly come out and said he'd love to join Leicester again. And I think every single fan would take him back in a heartbeat.
Well, after what we've seen this season, yes.
If we were to bring in a new keeper somewhere, I'd love it to be Casper again.
Before the season started, I wouldn't say I'd take him back, but with how he was getting to the point where he wasn't the greatest keeper anymore. Don't get me wrong, he was still good, but there's keepers we can get. Those have probably got to get him better with it.
He is getting older. Obviously, you can't deny that.
The kicking was getting there. I think his shot stopping was absolutely still insane. But
as far as certain things in the game where he just wasn't getting there.
I'd probably say I agree with that. But again, like I say, before the season, I probably would have been saying like, fair enough, you go.
If you look at our goals conceded to goals scored, we're still scoring as many goals as we ever did.
We just conceding a lot more.
We're just conceding a lot of goals, and I'm not saying that's all down to Ward, but if you do, again, Chelsea prime example, Chilwell's first goal should never have gone in.
No.
Their second goal, it was a good goal, but for me, Ward is just no man's land. He's just standing there. He's neither back or forward. He's in the middle. For me, a keeper, you either commit or you don't.
I will say though, obviously we both watched the Man United versus Leicester one where we did beat them 5-3, and there was one goal there where Di Maria chipped over Schmeichel, and it's basically the same goal, probably a bit more skill to it, but Casper had that issue there. So for me, there's not much of a difference.
Does commit. Casper comes out, and it's one of those quick time things where he comes out. For me, when you watch Ward again, if you're watching in real time, he's neither back or forward. He's staggering between himself because he doesn't know what to do. And that's just one example. If you ever watch him, obviously you've been to a lot more games than I have because you go to the away ones. If you ever do manage to watch a Leicester game at the grounds, watch how Ward's position. He comes out and he goes back and he's in no man's land. He never commits. He never does one thing. He never just stays back or goes for it.
I think we both know that Ward isn't great, but it all depends on what we do at the end of the season. I think we do need a new first choice, but it depends if we get rid of one of them. If we get rid of one of Iverson or Ward, the other one will be back up.
I don't think it's going to be tough to get rid of these players. I think from a business point of view, all these players that we listed off, a handful of them, they're obviously going to cut the loss of the players that are out of contracts.
Yeah.
Someone like Sun Chu's been taking his wages, we're not going to get any money for him. But players like Ward, Iverson, just if someone offers 5 million for Iverson, take it. If someone offers 5 million for Ward, take it. Because it frees up wages, and it brings goes along with financial fair play where we have the money free again to get someone that's good. I personally don't think you need 3 goalkeepers. For me, Smithies was wasted money. He's on £500,000 a year, by the way, and you've probably never seen him in any photos, let alone around the pitch. So, for me, I would get. If it's going to be a massive refresh and clear out and so if it's a very good point of view. If we get relegated, there's a lot of players that are going to go. That'll free up money for the Championship. If we stay up, I think there'll be a lot of players that aren't here for Leicester and just here for the wages. Your Bertrands, your Vestergaards. I think those players are literally just here because we've offered them. They might be on 50 grand a week from Southampton. Said we'll give you a 3-year contract, or 2-year contracts on 80 grand a week. And you're getting on those a couple of extra years and 20 grand extra a week. And they don't care if they get played or not. I've seen Vestergaard's not training with the first team because I don't know why. He's just not in that training anymore. He's not even in the training team, but he's still going to be getting paid 80 grand a week to do so. So I think, like I said, there's obviously a lot of things that could happen in summer. And I think a lot of it is dependent on if we get relegated or if we stay in the Prem as to what happens.
Yeah. Got nothing more to say there. Have we got any more topics before we finish, or are we going to finish there?
That's about it. I think we've kind of covered. I was just saying, like, who do we need to bring in, regardless of who goes and who stays? I think we've talked about we need a keeper. I think we're going to need a new attacking midfielder, new wingers, new midfielders. We're going to need a whole new team. Apart from defence, I think we're going to need fresh players in every position.
But I think it'll be a good start to the season if we did stay up, and then going into the next season with a whole new fresh team. Yes, it might be a bit of a slow start because we're going to try to bond together and get that chemistry there.
Get the players in, and the more they play pre-seasons, the easier it'll be. Easier it'll be for them to get started in the Premier League.
But yeah, that's it then. Appreciate you coming on. This has been me and Sam on the podcast, and we'll catch you all on the next one. Cheers.